a panel because I want first to introduce our panelists and then to start talking, not to waste any time. First of all, we have Antonia Coliboșanu. She doesn't have a name here because it was a last add to this panel, but we're glad we have Antonia here. She is Senior Associate Expert from New Strategy Center, Analyst on Geopolitical Futures. We have Yulia SIRKO, First Deputy Head of Transport and Infrastructure Committee from Ukrainian Rada. Via VTC from Germany, we are joined by Wilfried JILGE, Senior Advisor, Ukraine and wider Black Sea Stabilisation Platform. We have as well Istvan, Executive Director from the Danube Institute from Hungary. And because this is a panel that is in partnership with Konrad Adenauer Foundation from Germany, Miss Katja Plate, I'm sorry, Head of CAS Offices Romania. We will have Katja to help us with the final conclusion of our talks. Let's start first, and Antonia, since you are immediately right here next to me, you have the first word. Let's talk about why the Danube matters and why Danube has a key role in the European and NATO effort to keep the Black Sea free and open.
Thank you very much, and since I'm the surprise of the panel, as we can see here, I should go first. It's a natural case, I guess. Why does the Danube matters? We are also in the Danube Hall, by the way. So it matters because we're in this hall that has the name, and Danube is famous in this region, because it connects the Black Sea to the north part of the continent, the North Sea. And that should say anything without the additional obvious, which is the Danube matters because of its utility nowadays for the Ukrainian traffic. Now, you may wonder, how does the Danube connect the Black Sea with the North Sea? Because this is kind of, not necessarily intuitive, right? It goes through the channels. It goes through Germany, and it connects to the north, and it's basically the main avenue, or could be the main avenue for trade, but it could also be the main avenue for security. So let me explain why this is key to understand today. We have, for the first time in a number of years, on the Danube Commission, we have only the true riparian states as member states, which means that Russia is no longer a member on the Commission, which basically allows us to go forward with thinking and planning for investment and planning for strategies that have to do with the Danube, connecting with the Black Sea and connecting with the Western Europe. That basically means, in practice, that it is a way to develop the so-called Lower Danube, which is to say, the part that begins in Hungary and goes through through Serbia and Romania until it reaches Ukraine through the Danube Delta. Now, we know how useful the modernization works of the Danube was at the beginning of the war. It was useful for the Ukrainian grains. It was useful for us to learn how to develop, how we can develop new avenues of trade, and it was good to have an alternative infrastructure to connect to Constanța and to connect to the other countries in the European Union, and not only, I might say. I live actually on the main road that gets from Bucharest to Bulgaria, and I see a lot of trucks coming in that are actually being sent from the Danube ports into Romania and then to Bulgaria down south. And there is an increased traffic, I feel it. It's not nice for me, of course, but it's good for other purposes, the strategic purpose. Now, with that in mind, we cannot talk about the Black Sea security without having the Danube in mind. And that basically discusses, and I know that there will be points made, so I will just put on the framework. The major element that we need to think about is avenues for deterrence, for real deterrence, when it comes to economics and when it comes to military, and how we can use the Danube for this. Investing into this new avenue, which is not new, by the way, means that we will have the Balkans integrated into a security strategy for the Black Sea, which is key considering the European security needs. It is key when we are talking about even the South Europe security needs, where we also integrate other risks that has to do more with the Mediterranean and less with Northern Europe in this sense. And at the same time, the Danube can be used for military mobility, because riparian states only can help with NATO capabilities on the Danube per se. Therefore, developing this new avenue has to take into account that element as well, not as an alternative to what we are doing in the Black Sea proper, but as an addition to what we are doing in the Black Sea proper from a defense case. Therefore, we have the two elements combined, the economics and the military together, for the Black Sea security and stretching into the European security broadly. I hope I have not used too much time. And I know, considering the speakers on the panel, I will come back with maybe questions on elements that will be said here.
For sure we'll have questions, and of course we will take questions from all of you if we have time. Next in line, we do see that Danube kind of get suddenly the center stage, unfortunately, because the war in Ukraine. So how is helpful now Danube for you?
I would say Danube always was underestimated in Ukrainian economy, I would say, because mostly we are using deep ports of Odessa, Mykolaiv, Kherson and Crimea before it was annexed in 2014. So for us, we have a lot of ports. We have 18 ports in total, and now it's only 6 operating. But it's 6 operating ports exporting this year previous year in 2024, we exported over 80 million tons. So different goods, including grains. Our capacity, if all ports will be open, it's over 300 million tons. But in 2022, even before full-scale invasion, Russian blocked our ports purposely, absolutely purposely, because this is a hybrid war. They clearly understand that they actually know that 70% of the export going through the ports, Ukrainian, and if you will block ports, it will block all your economy. And we are a big agricultural producer and exporter. We are, and at some goods we are number 4 in grains, in some number 10, but we are top 10 agricultural exporter in the world. And actually, we're mostly exporting into low-income countries of Africa and Asia. It's not about only money and exporting and keeping our economic, but it's also about the geopolitical stability. Because if you have 400 million hungry people, then you have a problem around the world. People will not sitting and waiting until they will die. They will move, immigrate, or do political unrest, because this is, I mean, hunger is hunger. And we are clearly understand our responsibility. That's why we are, thanks a lot to Romania government and the Romanian nations, which allowed us in 2022 basically redirect our export grains from Odessa ports, which were blocked fully until summer of 2022, and we exported 60% of our grains in 2022 through Romanian territory to Constanța and then to the different Asian and African countries. So we all together have done 2 things. We in 2022 and till now. We are keeping Ukrainian economy keep on running because we need to pay pensions, social payments, etc. every day, every month, and that's why we need our economy stable, which is most and a lot dependent on export. And the second, it's security, and it's food security in the world. Because we contributed into food security very much. In 2022, you saw prices on your shelves in each and every country, and living crisis, cost crisis, you also saw it in all European and other countries, and prices increased not because, you know, somehow at one point of time everything disappeared in the world, but because it was blocked in Ukraine, mostly, particularly wheat, corn, oil, etc. And we, at some point of time, we gathered in the government and said, okay, if we cannot export it before the new harvest, we will burn it. Because we don't have other options, because we need to put our new harvest into the storages, and we don't have capacity of the storages. So that was the option on the table honestly in the summer of 2022. Before and in spring 2022, we understanding that it was very harmful for the world, but we didn't have any other options because it was all our storages were full. Actually, Danube saved us in 20, and Romania saved us, and Poland also by railways saved us in 2022. And my belief is that we need to keep it, despite the amount of grains and export decrease. In 2024, it was 17 million tons through the Danube River. Before, it was over 30 million. Before 2022, it was 2.5 million. So it increased 10 times. We invested over 100 million into the Danube cluster. Mostly it's private money, private terminals constructed, private businesses constructed over 23 new terminals invested. But sure, with the open of Odessa and stable sea routes, maritime routes in the deep ports, the export decrease through Danube, because Danube is a river. And the depths could be not more than 6 meters. Unfortunately, we need to keep it 7 meters, and this is a very important for not only for grains and export. Also, I fully agree with my colleague. This is the option 2 of deliver different double use and military use goods into the Europe, as well as railways. We need to consider this option, and I think at this point of time when we see escalation, and already we see Russian summer offensive started in Ukraine. On our borders in Kharkiv and Sumy Oblast, so we have to consider that we have to option 2, which allows us to humanitarian needs, military needs, as well as economic needs of exports. So Danube, for us, it's very, very important. We understand it, but we need to be more comprehensive of developing Danube cluster, because at this point of time we lack of it is a narrow roads to Danube. It's not developed in a, so to say, in a harmonized way. So different companies building different terminals, but we need, as a state, we need to think about more comprehensive of this Danube cluster and developing it with railways, roads, and Romania is putting its own road to the border of Ukraine, A7 road, which is very important for traffic. We are working with the ministry and with the European Commission on a train between Kyiv and Bucharest, which could bring passengers as well as can bring different goods. So we need to be, so to say, thinking more strategically, not like we done before 2022 and before 2014, and think that Danube, A7, Ukrainian roads and Ukrainian railways with Romanian railways could be of use not for cargo and passengers, but also for the security and defense.
Thank you. Let's go now to Germany to hear the view of Mr. Wilfried JILGE. Since Germany used Danube, let's say, more perhaps than we used to use it here in our part of the world, shall we consider more this dual use in future, or shall we come back to economic after the war will be over?
I think we have to do both, but at first I would like to remind you what is the context. Black Sea is a bridge between east and west and between north and south, and it can be only used, and that is also true then for the Danube as one important connectivity point for the south-north connection, if there will be enough security and if there will be freedom of navigation. And I would only remind us that when it comes to the current negotiations, it seems that some of the so-called mediators have already forgotten about Crimea. But Crimea is crucial when it comes to the balance of power in the northwestern Black Sea. If Crimea will remain in the hands of Russia, and if Crimea will even be recognized as Russian by the US, we can expect that the hybrid war on sea in peace times will even stronger come back than it happened already between 2014 and 2022. And please let me remind you how Russia, at the start of the full-scale invasion, tried to attack the Odessa region using the occupied gas platforms in the Odessa waters, which are at the opposite of Snake Island and the mouth of Danube. So what I would like to say is, when it comes to security, the Europeans, the like-minded, the coalition of the willing, have to develop very quickly strategies how we can save the trade routes between the Odessa region and the Bosphorus, but also how we can save the exclusive economic zones of Bulgaria and Romania, which is also important for the Danube, because I can imagine that through the Danube also Romania and Bulgaria will get equipment for expanding their infrastructure. And what is more important, that I think the reconstruction of Ukraine, actually of the southern regions, will be only possible if we have a modernized Danube route, which is capable also to transport heavy engineering components, which will be important for Ukraine to reconstruct their cities in the south and the east. Please let me remind you that many of these components will come from France and Germany, probably. And what we need now is a conception and maybe also a feasibility study supported by the European Union, how a multimodal transport network can look like in the lower Danube region with the outreach to the Black Sea. That is, I think, a crucial preparation for the reconstruction, but it also requires security. And here I would like to come back to concrete measures. We are speaking at the moment, we are discussing the problem, for example, of reassurance troops for Ukraine on land. I'm sorry to say that that discussion has become a little bit silenced. But what is with the sea? Who will patrol on the sea? Who will guarantee the safety there? We have the contract, the agreement of Montreux, which says that non-littoral states can only remain in the sea, in the Black Sea, for 21 days. And that is, of course, a big problem. And here maybe Danube can also help when it comes, as Antonia said, to military mobility. Ukraine has decided mainly to establish its coastal defense with a Mosquito fleet, and I think that the equipment for that, so flexible and quick military boats, rocket boats, can all be also maybe transported via the Danube, because we do not know when Mr. Erdogan decides when the war is really has really come to an end. I mean, that is more or less in his hands, and I would not too much let me say, rely on the declarations, which are very good. I think we need Turkey. Yes, Turkey is very crucial. But for Turkey, that is also a very complicated situation. It wants to balance the situation in the Black Sea, but it wants also not to provoke Russia. And so we need also here alternatives. But I would like to remind you that Danube will be very important for reconstruction. Secondly, what we need. The European Union, besides the solidarity lanes, already declared the Baltic-Black Sea corridor. We have already entry points when it comes to railway connectivity from Poland to Ukraine with European railway tracks. But we have no wider conception how these entry points, which can connect Ukraine, but also in the end, Bulgaria and Romania through the Danube, how we can, or how why the strategy can look like. So what we really need now is to also to expand and to develop the way from the Baltic Railway in the north, in the Baltic Sea, down to the Black Sea. And maybe a last idea, which is also very important. When it comes to Moldova, it will be also important to modernize the railway lines through the Transnistria region of Moldova when the political situation allows it. But perhaps that can happen maybe quicker than we think, because also the Transnistria de facto government now is under heavy pressure, because Moldova is very inclined to accelerate this integration process, and maybe to a certain point such infrastructure network from Chisinau through Transnistria on the one hand, then further to central Ukraine, and on the other hand further to the Odessa region, can also, when the situation is there, it's still not there, but we should be prepared, can also be a very good input to establish, let me say, confidential building to integrate that region again back to Moldova fully, and to expand the connectivity. One last moment when it comes to Ukrainian, to the importance of the Black Sea for Ukraine. What we have to take into account is that the route from the Odessa ports through the Bosporus is still the most low-cost route for Ukraine. So the best benefit Ukraine gets from the transport via the Odessa ports. However, what we see already is that the Danube ports are already also very important, also when it comes to the transport costs, with a transport to Austria or to Western Balkans. So the Danube ports, the Danube cluster is not only, let me say, a backup for Ukraine. It has already become an integral component of its export structure. And maybe that are the main points. Also, one very important point we should also not forget. That is, again, a clear non-recognition policy when it comes to Russia's claims in the south. Very important. That is also true for the Azov region, because Russia already declared Azov Sea as an internal water of Russia, and I heard no reaction from the Western powers to that. I think we have to support Ukraine in drawing new sea borders after the contract with Russia, of course, has finished, the contract from 2003. And the same is true for Crimea. So it is also important, if we want to use Danube as a very important entry point for the Black Sea, as a, let me say, as a hub for connectivity in Southern Europe, we have also be very clear when it comes to international sea law and international law, And these things also have now to be implemented, and we have to support here Ukraine more than we did before. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and let's move now to Hungary. Mr. Istvan Kiss, what is the take coming from your capital, considering the Danube is also passing through Budapest, the take over this strategic river?
Well, thank you, and also thank you for the kind invitation to be here from the New Strategy Center and from the Konrad Stiftung. It's a real pleasure to be here and a privilege. I have to say that I'm not sure if I can say a lot after all these good discussions, and also I have to mention, because I see George is taking pictures, that actually our gracious host George and Kaushar have wrote a very good article about the importance of the Danube River, which I recommend to all of you to read, because I think that's kind of very crucial to understand. Now, I'm coming from a think tank called the Danube Institute, so obviously we recognize the importance of Danube, and we purposely choose this name because we like the symbol of Danube as a river which connects Central Europe to Eastern Europe, several different countries. Historically, of course, I mean, it's not happened chance that, as you mentioned, our capital, Budapest, is on the Danube River, but of course Vienna, Bratislava, Belgrade are also on the Danube, because historically the Danube has played a very crucial role in trade. Now, again, if you look at the historic context, although trade on the Danube River has been steadily increasing since the Russian invasion of Ukraine, but still it's only a bit higher than in its peak in the early 90s. Also, if you compare it to, for example, trade and traffic on the Rhine River, which was mentioned, it's nothing. It kind of pains me to say this as a Hungarian, but if you look at kind of the transport capacities and which country is transporting much, actually Romania is doing the best. So Romania is transporting about almost 300,000 tons on the Danube. The second is Hungary, much less compared to this. But if you compare it to, let's say, the Netherlands have a traffic of about 45 million tons. So it's just a very huge contrast, and shows you that there's a lot of things we can do to realize the full potential of the Danube River. Now, as was mentioned, it's crucial for trade. It's also very important to help our friends in Ukraine with their transport capacities, but also, as it was mentioned previously, with potentially giving military equipment as well, also to the rebuilding effort. So again, if I look at the Rhine River is used very successfully by NATO to move military equipment as well. This is something which we can mimic. Another very important factor which was mentioned previously is a Danube crucial role to connect basically Europe to Asia, especially Central Asia. We already have plans which were accepted by Hungary, Romania, Georgia and Azerbaijan to build this green cable through the Black Sea, which would bring green energy from Azerbaijan and Georgia to the European Union, which is actually supported, luckily, by the European Union. Now, I personally would support very much to do the same with fossil fuels. Sadly, the European Union disagrees on this, but I think there's huge potential to actually get fossil fuels from Central Asia, from Azerbaijan, but also, generally speaking, goods, where the Danube River could have a huge potential in bringing those trade routes towards the central of Europe. Now, of course, to realize this, as again was mentioned, you have to have a peaceful and secure Black Sea. Now, again, I have kind of a fairly controversial Hungarian idea in this regard. So we just had the informal summit of the Organization of Turkic States in Budapest. Now, Hungary, I think, perhaps even now, is a bit ridiculed by joining the Organization of Turkic States. But I think there's a huge potential in this organization, and I think there's huge potential in actually using our friends, Turkish friends, in putting pressure on Russia to secure the Black Sea. Because, as I said, it would be in the economic interest very much of these Turkic states to have a free Black Sea, because they could use it as well to better transport their goods and services towards Europe. So I would try to use our friends, and I think Hungary can play a role in this, in Turkey and Central Asia, to put pressure on Russia to make the Black Sea a much freer region. Now also to talk about some of the kind of hindrances as well. So as I said, there's huge potential, but it's not realized. It's not realized mostly because the infrastructure is not there. It's sadly outdated. You don't have the ports, you don't have the logistical centers, you don't have the capacities. So to realize this, we will need huge investments. So I think the countries of the region should try to go to the European Investment Bank, should try to lobby for European investment funds to help it. As I said, this could be crucial for trade. It could help Ukraine. It could help our future trade relations towards Asia. But also one crucial thing which was not mentioned to kind of counterbalance my remarks on fossil fuel, using Danube as a trade route can also help foster our green goals. So we would need much less trucks. Even sometimes it could replace railways. There's a much bigger capacity on these ships, so it could actually help some of the climate change roles. And also, I mean, that's one of the problems Danube faces, that because of climate change, the flow of the river is not always consistent. So I think trying to go to the European Investment Bank, trying to get some European funds. Perhaps if our German friends also join us, we will have better chances on doing that. I think is crucial because there is sadly a lack of investment in the river. Of course, our countries all have to do more. I agree on that, but sadly, it's just not in the capacity of, let's say, Hungary or Romania to do it alone. So that's why I think it's crucial to try to get outside sourcing and build these routes because, as I said, I think there's tremendous potential, as it was historically as well, but in the future as well for the Danube River to be this beltway between Europe, so between Central Europe and Eastern Europe, but also, as I said, towards Asia as well. Thank you.
Thank you. As I said already, Katja Plate will help us at the end of this panel to draw a conclusion, so we're not being unpolite by jumping over her. We are open now the floor for questions. If anyone has one, please raise your hand. We will hand a mic. Okay, please, over here. And please introduce yourself.
Thank you. First of all, thank you all for the very insightful panel. My name is Andrei Tsvanov. I am in charge of operations at the Pupin Initiative, a Serbian think tank dedicated to bolstering Serbian-American relations. I have a question for Mr. JILGE. How would you describe the political atmosphere in Germany regarding investments into further development of the Upper Danube, and would you say there is potential for that? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. JILGE.
Yes, of course, I think there is potential, and there is a big interest of Germany in Ukraine's reconstruction. I think that is very important, and there is, I think, in the expert community, there is, of course, the understanding, and there is also already a growing discussion that some things we need for reconstruction actually from Germany cannot be done by trucks. It's simply a precondition for an effective reconstruction, and I think that question will hopefully come to the table. For Germany, of course, it is attractive at all to have another outreach to the south economically. And so I think there are good arguments, and I think when we speak about, and that is also now a discussion which hopefully will be adopted again when the new coalition has been settled, so has been, or let me say, is really then fully working, because we've just started with a new coalition, that Germany actually can contribute to prosperity and security in the region through its position at the Danube. I think that will be also a logical framework to explain why Germany will be engaged in the direction of Black Sea region, because we are a very important connectivity point. And I would like also to argue Germany is not every time very loudly speaking about its interests, but Germany, for example, is actually one of the countries in European Union who very heavily benefited from the Ukrainian grain exports, be it via Danube, be it through the Odessa region that you can see in the statistics. So Germany feed industry already contributed from the reorientation of Ukraine to the Western markets. And I think that is also crucial to understand. So the best you can do is, besides security, but by the way, I also think that the security issue now is much more in the center of the government than it was already during the last government. But I think when Germany says that we have to further strengthen support Ukraine, the security aspect of Black Sea and Danube will also come to the table. But for Germany, of course, it's very important also to argue with economy. And I think here is a growing understanding. So what we have to do, we have to bring on the table not big illusions, not big perspectives, which when it comes to connectivity, but to make concrete proposals for the next step. What is needed? Where are the gaps of knowledge? Because it is one thing to say that Danube has a great potential, but we still not know very exactly which are the markets in the region and along the route to the Black Sea, which can mostly benefit from an upgrading of the Danube. Here are some things to be more realistic and more concrete, because politicians want to have it very concrete. And at the moment, the discussion lacks a little bit precise arguments and conceptions. Thank you.
Thank you. You want to answer as well?
Yes, I will contribute. I will not reply to your question because it was for Germany part, but for Wilfried, I would like to say that we, from our side, clearly see how we can make Danube cluster and river more sufficient. First of all, we need to deepen, and we already deepen the waters in 2023 and 2024 to 7 meters, and we need to keep this depth because otherwise you cannot use it properly. So this is number one. Number two, to decrease tariffs on railways, because railways on the Ukrainian side, which is coming to the Danube, are very expensive. So logistically, it's not interesting. Logistically, Danube is more expensive than Odessa ports per ton. That's we need to fix from our side as well as from our neighbor side. So if the tariff, all in all, including railways, trucks, and Danube services, river services, will be interesting then and competitive to Odessa region, then it could be more useful for businesses. We see Danube from our side as an export hub and cluster for niche goods, and also, I mean, not commodities like wheat or grain, which is going, or corn, which is going to the Africa and Asia, because for that you need very cheap logistics, and you cannot compete with Black Sea logistics. It's much cheaper because it's much bigger vessels coming into deep Odessa ports, and that's why it's cheaper. So vessels coming to the Danube could be not more than 6 tons, and which is more expensive per ton than big vessels. So we have to find niche goods, and we have a lot of niche goods. I absolutely agree with you that we will use it for the delivery of goods from Southern Europe, and including if we will find routes from Germany and France for reconstruction of Ukraine. We're already doing it. We are importing some raw materials for reconstruction by Danube. But we have a clear, 10 points, bullet points to make attractive to make Danube attractive from Ukrainian side, but then we need logistics from other side, so we can construct whatever we want. want. But then we have tariffs on Constanza, we have roads, we have any other issues that we are could be an issue, a bottleneck. So if we see it from our side, we need to harmonize it also with the European view and European Commission view, and that will be very beneficial for Danube, because we need to keep it interesting for business and competitive for business, to use it also for other purposes if we need it for security. It will be, because only keep Danube as a plan B for security, it's very expensive exercise. We cannot afford ourselves, our budget. So that's why it should be attractive for economy, for trade, and double use for other purposes.
Thank you. Any other question, please?
Thank you very much. I'm retired Major General Paul Hormuz, and since the title it's only referring to NATO and EU, I would also like to know, first of all, the view from Germany about the Danube Commission, if it's still relevant and what is the future for that organization, especially because the first body was established after the Crimean War, I think, 1856 in Paris. So is it relevant? And very much like to understand how this organization can operate, especially in relationship with the EU, which is a much powerful one. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. JILGE.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. I think that's a very clear thing. The Danube Commission was very important, for example, when it comes to the establishment of the solidarity lanes. Danube Commission closely cooperated with the European Commission, and you know that Germany heavily invested also in the establishment of that. Germany is deeply cooperating. By the way, I cannot speak for Germany at all. I speak as an expert here, as an individual expert, so that is my analysis. But what I see is very positive, and actually when it comes to the points, for example, which Yulia mentioned, Danube Commission is also very supportive, and that is a very good entry point to argue and to convince the partner states, the littoral states of Danube, to step in. I think Danube Commission is crucial. I mean, they really contributed to the clusters in the last year. So thank you for that. I think, yeah, that is an important entry point.
Thank you. Anyone else? We have a question here.
Hi. Hi, Bogdan Bernaga with the New Strategy Center. As a follow-up to General Hormuz's question, is Russia still a member of the Commission? And the other one is, let's say an even bigger security challenge happens, even bigger than the war in Ukraine, and we need to bring in heavy stuff from Germany and such. And I'll try to be diplomatic about it. Would the political sensitivities in Austria, Hungary, Slovakia, and Serbia prevent the convoys to reach the proper destination? Thank you.
Thank you. We'll ask Antonia to answer the first question, and then Mr. Kiss to answer the second question, okay?
No. So Russia was kicked out, in a very academic term to use, from the Danube Commission, and is effectively not on the Danube Commission since January 2024. That is why we actually published a report together with Konrad Adenauer Stiftung to highlight that importance and to also discuss the future for the Danube, considering the past and considering where we are and how history can or can help or not. So that was the context that we have started this discussion. So the Danube Commission can actually be now useful.
Thank you.
Well, I'm not sure what could be a bigger security threat in this sense. So, I mean, attack on NATO. I mean, if that's the case, then I think it's pretty obvious that all the NATO member states will come together and help. I mean, Austria, of course, is not a NATO member state, but I don't think they would be somebody who would put obstacles into that. And also, you have free trade on the Danube, so I think it would be very difficult because of actually the Danube Commission, which was mentioned previously, to kind of hinder traffic on the Danube. But as I said, I mean, I think if there's a huge security risk, I think all of us would come together and help. Of course, as I said, I'm a Hungarian. I cannot speak in the name of the Austrians. But if you look at you know, the rhetoric of Austria or what they've been doing with Ukraine, I don't think they were a hindrance. I mean, even with Hungary, I mean, I envy the Austrians actually, because if you look at actual assistance towards Ukraine, Hungary has done more than Austria. But the rhetoric has been very, very bad. So while Austria has been very nice with Ukraine, but is hardly sending anything, Hungary did the kind of the vice versa, that it's trying to help in a way, but the rhetoric hasn't been very fortunate. So again, I think if there's a problem, we will stick together. And as I said, I mean, the Danube is a free river, so it would be very hard to stop things. But also, I don't think it would be an interest, especially if there's a much bigger security threat.
Thank you, and I think we had Yulia, okay?
Just one comment. So we are talking about Danube, but we have to understand that Danube from Ukrainian side and from Romanian side, I mean, it's like I don't know, 5 meters border. So if the drone is coming to Ukrainian ports on Danube, they are coming. There are a lot coming to the Romanian side as well. So the air defense system is a prerequisite for the safe and secure Danube, for the goods, for the services, and for the double use. So, and that's why the idea of sharing air defense system, NATO air defense system, which will cover from Romanian side, will cover Danube ports, is very important, because we have drones and attacks and missiles attacks every day on ports, including Danube ports, and we, over these years, 2 years, 2.5 years, we have over 400 buildings and destroyed of infrastructure. So that's why it's very important to have security on this region, and one of the options is to cover the Danube region from drones and from missiles, not for offensive, not for attacking, but to cover this region by air defense system from Romania side. But for that we need NATO approval, which we cannot get yet.
And we have one more adding to this issue.
Yes, because I'm a geopolitical analyst, so I cannot ignore the elephant in the room that Bogdan kind of put out there. It is also about Serbia. It is not about the riparian states that are NATO members, but it is also about the willingness for Serbia to cooperate. And I think now that we do have an incentive to actually have Serbia in mainly, and also the Western Balkans, integrated in the economic development of Southeastern Europe. And the Danube is a very good avenue to have that. Investments on the Danube will also help the Serbian economy. And that is very much needed, especially now when the Russian weakness has basically meant for Serbia that it is willing to look on the other side more than it was ever before. And I believe that this can be the beginning of also having discussions on the security side. There is, talking about history, there are also elements in history, including during the Cold War, where the West looked at ways, and Yugoslavia back then looked at ways to use the Danube for securing the region. it is not very much different nowadays. We do need the Danube to integrate us whole, because otherwise Black Sea security is not going to be integrated. Black Sea security is also Balkans security. That's why the name of the forum. It's not just the Black Sea, it's not just the South Caucasus. For us in Europe, it is the Balkans and the Black Sea.
Thank you, and because we are close, oh, we have one more question, but please make it quick. I'm sorry.
Thank you very much for the insight. Adrian Kostaki is my name. I'm from the EU Advisory Mission in Ukraine. As you all recall, in late July 2023, when the international grain sea corridor was stopped, until the Ukrainian corridor was opened, the Danube has become the main gate for Ukrainian grain exports. Of course, there have been several challenges, like night navigation on the Danube or lack of river pilots. I would like to ask Yulia Klimenko, there is any lesson learned, and do you have any contingency plan in a hypothetical case of a new Black Sea blockade? Thank you.
Thank you. Yulia, if you don't mind, before you answer, let's take the last question. We have one over here, and then we'll...
Sorry, I just wanted to, regarding your input on Serbia, just very short. I think that we really have like a unique opportunity to use this momentum to integrate Serbia in the regional cooperation, even though Serbia is not member of the EU, especially because I would say that the relations between Serbia and Russia are at the lowest level in the last 30 years. And Serbia has been one of the largest ammunition suppliers of Ukraine. And I think that information doesn't come across among Europe and as well in the States. So I think that Serbia really showed that Serbia stands with Ukraine and that Serbia can be a reliable partner of the West, despite the narrative in media that Serbia is often portrayed as Russian proxy in the Balkans, which I think is very wrong, and it's very lazy intellectual view of Serbia. Thank you.
Thank you. It's always the media's fault, of course, me being the media. Yulia, please.
Yes, I fully support my Serbian colleagues. It's very important to, and they are really helping. So congratulations that you are not in the hands of Russia, as well as for Armenians. After elections. Actually, my reply to this, the war with Ukraine, Putin's, so to say, plan A was to acquire, conquer, and merge the whole Ukraine. Plan B was to cut Ukraine from Black Sea. Because Russians, they clearly understand what is the the maritime domain and the maritime dominance is the #1 in the world. Honestly, I think next wars and this war will go in the maritime domain, not on the land. So it will be a fight in Arctic, a fight in the Pacific, a fight in the Black Sea. So they just started training in the Black Sea, but they will replicate it in other places, China and Russia, I mean. So I do believe that the most wars will be on the global ocean, not on land. And that's why we actually, yes, we understand that the plan B is still on table, Kremlin table, that they would like to cut Ukraine from Black Sea. In this way, they will also reach Moldova, and then after Moldova, Romanian borders. So this is plan B. It was always on the table, and it's on the table now. So they're trying to reach Kherson, Mykolaiv, Odessa, and then going further. For that, we sure prepare military, politically, as well as we clearly understand that at any point of time, we can switch into the Danube River, as it was in 2022. That's why we increased capacity, as I said. So it's already 10 times from the 2021. yes, we need more investments, but more investments could come from the private business. For that, we need to balance tariffs and the economic attractiveness of the competitiveness of the Danube, which is not the case, unfortunately, you know, because people relaxing. If you have deep water, cheap logistics, why do you need care about the plan B? Yeah, you need investments, you need the money, you need to explain your voters. I mean, it's you need to disburse money from the budget. It always, you know, political discussions, as you know. But I do believe that these options we need to consider as everyday options. So to switch immediately to the route B and be ready. That's why Romania building roads from their side. We are investing small, but we will need to increase on our side and have it as a plan B, because plan B on the Kremlin table still exists and still trying to implement on Ukrainian side, because it will open the corridor to the southern Europe easily, to Neptune Deep, to Romanian borders and many others, which is not covered by NATO, Article 5 NATO in the Black Sea. Some of the areas are not covered. So I mean, it should be considered, and we considered it. I hope that Europe also will do its part.
Let's hope, and because this panel was done in a partnership with Konrad Adenauer Foundation, let's ask please Katja Plate, the head of CAS offices here in Romania, to draw the final conclusion.
Thank you very much. So what I'm taking out of this discussion is the mental image of the Danube, especially in connection with the Rhine River, as a backbone of Europe, because it goes from the north to the south. And all of us who have advanced a little bit in life know that you can have a lot of back pain if you are not exercising your back and your backbone regularly and with strength. And I think this is exactly what we need to do. So we have some weaknesses in our European backbone, and we need to exercise it. And it means we need to strengthen the transport side, the business side of the Danube. We need to strengthen especially the military capabilities of the Danube. And we also need to emphasize, like, let's say, the cultural aspects, the political aspects we didn't talk so much about today, because I think that's also absolutely vital. We see that a lot of our European capitals are on the Danube, actually, and Serbia and Belgrade. I have just been there some months ago, standing at the borders of Danube and Sava, and so you really understand what it means to be European and to be connected by this river, which provides us with a huge chance. But when we work on all these weaknesses, and this is something which we have to do the next year. I mean, we all know the global paradigm we have around us, and so we need to strengthen up. And this image of the Danube and the Rhine and being connected, that I think this is something that can lead us, because whatever we do will have spillover effects. When we work on the economic dimension of the Danube, we will strengthen also military capabilities. When we strengthen the military ones, it will have spillover effects to connectivity. So when we invest in the ports, when we enable them, when we connect them better to the railways, this is a win-win-win-win situation. And this is why I think we absolutely need to focus on the Danube, and this is why I thank you so very much for having been here with us, having listened to our experts, and yeah, let's stay connected together via the Danube and this topic. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And also thanks to the panelists and to all of you for joining us here. Thank you.